What's up, y'all? It's the Raw Prospect Podcast, episode 25. I'm here by myself, Michael Ween. Today is going to be a little different. We're just going to do a quick little 30-minute episode since I'm on my own. The 2019 NFL Draft begins tomorrow, round one. We got a couple NBA playoff storylines to get to. And maybe we'll get to some golf because we have not been on air since Tiger Woods won the Masters. But the first thing we got to talk about is last night. In case y'all didn't catch it, the Oklahoma City Thunder got knocked out of the first round of the playoffs on an incredible shot, one of the greatest sports moments I've ever seen on live TV. An incredible 37-foot, basically step back three-pointer by that bad man Damian Lillard. He put up 50 points last night in Game 5 to eliminate the Thunder with that game-winning three from 37 feet. He was just fantastic all series long. And the story today is, Damian dominated Russell. That's what was the number one storyline coming into the series. It was Damian Lillard versus Russell Westbrook. Who wins that matchup? And Damian absolutely obliterated him. You look at the numbers. Just to give you guys some context of how badly Russell got outplayed. We'll start with Westbrook. We'll start with the bad and then get to the good. Westbrook averaged 22.8 points per game, 36% field goal percentage, only 32% from three, and had a plus minus of minus 43. On the other hand, Damian averaged 33, including that 50-point game with 10 three-pointers last night. 46% from the field, 48% from three. That's over 16 percentage points better than Westbrook with a plus 55 plus minus. Damian plus 55, Russell minus 43. That tells you everything you need to know. Back when the Thunder were, near the top, fighting for a top 3 seed in the West, when they were making their stride around the middle of the season, near the All-Star break, who was the number one player on the team? It was Paul George. Russell was taking a backseat to Paul George, and that's when they were really hitting their stride. But once Paul George got hurt, Russell became the alpha again, and it just doesn't work. He has not adjusted. Damian Lillard has adjusted to today's NBA. Today's NBA is a three-point jump shooting game. Spread the ball around, get guys on the outside who can knock down threes. If you don't have that, you're not going to win in today's NBA unless you have an incredible coach. Damian Lillard was absolutely fantastic, and you can make the argument he's been the best player so far in any series in the playoffs. Better than KD, better than James Harden, better than Steph Curry, better than Giannis. I would make that argument. I mean, he leads all players in points per game and is top 5 in plus minus. He's just moved to be a model of what a point guard, what a player looks like in today's league. And it's pretty amazing what he did in this series, where the Blazers have come from. They won 49 games last year, exceeded everyone's expectations, won 49 games, got the 3 seed in the Western Conference, and were basically dominated start to finish in that series against the Pelicans and got swept out of playoffs. Damian didn't really play all too good. This year, expectations were kind of not, you know, they weren't expected to win 50 games. I didn't think they would, but they come back. If you don't remember, after the Pelicans series, I can remember people calling for Terry Stotts to be fired. There were rumors or people saying they should trade CJ McCollum. This is just isn't going to work. But they came back this season. They won 4 more games than last season, and I'd argue an even tougher Western Conference. And got the 3 seed again and beat a much more talented Thunder team than that Pelicans team was last year. And they beat them in 5 games, absolutely dominated them. And Lillard was absolutely fantastic. Westbrook, I don't know what to say. He's just not built for the playoffs. If you look, the last 7 times OKC has been in the playoffs with Westbrook on the team, in games in which OKC has been eliminated from the playoffs the last 7 seasons, Westbrook's shooting numbers: 11 of 28, 4 of 20, 8 of 23, 7 of 21, 15 of 34, 18 of 43, and last night, 11 of 31. Way too many shots, not enough shots made, not a whole lot of good decisions. Basically a momentum killer, if you ask me. Something's got to change. They got to sit him down and say, it's time to let Paul George be the face of this franchise, because he has to if they want to have any hopes of not even getting past the first round, but just making a Western Conference Finals. I remember at the beginning of the season, Amy and I had the Thunder as, I believe, like a 2 or a 3 seed. They ended up a 6 seed and got pretty much it was a gentleman's sweep. They let the Thunder have 1 game at Chesapeake Bay in OKC, Game 3. But other than that, Portland entirely dominated this series. OKC scared them there for a little bit last night, but it was all Portland and all Damian Lillard. And he's probably the 2nd or 3rd best point guard now in the league, no question about it. He's been under the radar for way too long. Last year he got his first team All-NBA. I think he should be it again. Sorry, Steph Curry. Sorry, anyone else. Damian Lillard should be there again. And I was talking to my podcast partner, Emmy, earlier, and he said that was a legacy series. That was a legacy game for Damian Lillard. When people in 15 years think of Damian Lillard, they think of the Houston game-winning shot against Houston in that series 5 years ago, and they think of last night. 33 points per game, 46% from the field, 48% three-point percentage, plus 55 plus minus. And he was 5 for 5 in shots beyond 30 feet in the series, or last night. I don't know what he was in the series, but last night he was 5 for 5 in shots beyond 30 feet. It's the new NBA, folks. Go down, launch 30-footers, see them go in. That's the new NBA. Russell Westbrook is not built for it, and he needs to adjust fast. Or he needs to just take a step back and let Paul George take control of the team. That's all I gotta say. We'll transition. That was some quick NBA. By the way, the three, three, should be three of the four second round series, playoff series are set. The second round series in the East, we have the Milwaukee Bucks, who swept the Detroit Pistons, wasn't even close. They're the number one seed, and they will face the Boston Celtics, who played really well against the undermanned Indiana Pacers team, but they're starting to hit their stride. That should be a very interesting series. We got what we hoped for, and then we got the Philadelphia 76ers, who after losing game one to the Brooklyn Nets, won 4 games in a row, and the number 2 seed Toronto Raptors, who with Kawhi Leonard, Pascal Siakam, and Kyle Lowry, who's played much better since his game one performance where he went 0 for 7 and didn't score a bucket or a point for that matter. They're playing really well. And by the way, just a quick little fact I read earlier, Kawhi Leonard is 13-0 in his career against Philadelphia. He's never lost to Philadelphia. That's just a quick little nugget. It's probably not going to matter in the series, but just something to keep in the back of your mind. And in the West, Houston won tonight. They eliminated the Jazz. The Jazz season's over. I'm not sure how many Harden had, but yeah, they beat the Jazz 193, won the series 4-1, and they'll face the winner of Golden State and the Clippers, who are playing or about to play right now. And we all expect the Warriors to, win that series. So it'll be Clippers and Warriors, and then it will be Portland, who is still awaiting the winner of Denver San Antonio. Denver is up 3-2 in that series right now. Game 6 is tomorrow in San Antonio. I'd talk about my Spurs, but I'm not going to waste much time on that. So we'll transition. Hold on just a second. We'll transition, with that being said, into a quick little 15-minute discussion on the NFL draft, which begins tomorrow. Round 1's tomorrow night. Rounds 2 and 3 are Friday night. After that, I don't really care. But rounds 4 through 7 are Saturday. So a 3-day event. The draft is in Nashville, Tennessee this year. I'm sure they're loving it out there. Great city to host. But I want to start with my team by previewing what I think my team should do in the draft, or what I think they'll do in the draft. I'm pretty sure all you guys know I'm a Steelers fan, huge Pittsburgh Steelers fan, has been since I was a very little kid. But before I get to the draft plans, there was news today coming from Pittsburgh. We gave Ben Roethlisberger this much-awaited contract extension. He'll play this year of his current contract, which will pay him a base of, I believe, I think it's like $12 million base salary with some signing bonuses in there. And then we gave him a 2-year, $68 million extension that will take him up to about age 40 in Pittsburgh up until after the 2021 season. So he's slated to be a Steeler for the next 3 years at least. Now, I just want to say, um, I thought this was going to be more years. I thought they were going to do a 3 or 4 year deal. I'm glad they just did 2 years. For all y'all hating on Roethlisberger, last season at age 36, Roethlisberger led the NFL with a career high 5,129 passing yards. He owns virtually every Steelers record for quarterbacks. He will break Mike Webster's 15-season record of longevity with the Steelers when he plays a 16th season this year. As I mentioned, the contract will bring him to the doorstep of age 40, an age when quarterbacks typically comment on games or give TV sales pitches rather than compete on the football field. They're generally retired by that time. But it seems 40 is the new 35 for NFL quarterbacks. We'll see Tom Brady lace him up this year at age 42. Drew Brees just turned 40 in January. He'll be playing quarterback again for the New Orleans Saints. Aaron Rodgers will celebrate his 37th birthday mid-season in December. And none of these guys have shown any signs of really slowing down. And by the way, Phillip Rivers and Eli Manning will still be going next season at age 38. Warren Moon, Vinny Testaverde all played at age 44. Brett Favre played until he was 41. Guys are starting to play longer, and I think it's perfect that Pittsburgh gets to keep a quarterback who is not the Ben Roethlisberger we saw when they were winning Super Bowls, not the old Ben, but he still has stuff left in the tank, and we saw it last season. And I think he's going to be really motivated this season. He's out to prove something. Now with Le'Veon Bell gone, Antonio Brown gone, all that was said about him and the problems he was causing in the locker room. I think he's going to be out to prove a point. I'm not the problem. They were the problem. Look at me. I'm the man of steel here in Pittsburgh. And I think that's what's going to happen. He's a great decision maker. He's like a lot of great quarterbacks. He can make all the throws. The question is, he's got to limit his turnover. He can be a little turnover happy at times, has games where he's just absolutely terrible, but then he also has games where he's just fantastic. When Ben gets hot, I don't know if there's a lot of quarterbacks in the league that are better than him when he's on fire. There are a lot of quarterbacks in the league that are better than him when he's sucking, when he has, the 5 interception games against Jacksonville, the first game against Cleveland last season where he threw 2 or 3 interceptions and fumbled once. Those type games, there are a lot of quarterbacks that are better. And that's when you kind of say, okay, why'd you give him the contract? But throwing for over 5,000 yards at age 36, that's not an easy thing to do. He did it. And he stayed healthy. And he still has, I'd argue, a top 3 offensive line, if not the best offensive line in the entire NFL to keep him upright. So it may be a little too much money for a guy his age, but Aaron Rodgers got a lot of money. Drew Brees, well, he hasn't gotten a contract of recent, but he makes a lot of money. Russell Wilson just got a ton of money. Matt Ryan's got a ton of money. All these guys are getting money, and that's just the game today. So with that, I just had to get that out there. Yeah, Pittsburgh will have Ben for the next 3 years, and I'm happy because Ben's their guy. He's the guy that is going to be under the most pressure this season. He's out to prove something. And we'll just have to see how that works out. But on to the draft. Just real quick, just want to mention some things. Obviously, the big story heading into this draft is what will the Arizona Cardinals do with the number 1 overall pick? I believe there was a report just released on Bleacher Report that the odds on the Cardinals, on the Arizona Cardinals, taking Kyler Murray with the first overall pick in the draft have dropped to minus 280 after being minus 2,500 just 2 days ago. So obviously there's a lot of speculation on whether or not the Cardinals should take Kyler Murray. Personally, if I were the Cardinals, if you're going to take Kyler Murray, I think you have to trade Josh Rosen. You can't bring this guy into the locker room 1 year after you drafted and traded up to get, I believe they traded up to get Josh Rosen with the number 10 overall pick last season. You can't do that. You got to get him out of the locker room and just if Kyler Murray's going to be your guy, that's fine. He's an absolutely fantastic talent. And I think he'd work well in the Cliff Kingsbury system. He'd be probably maybe the better fit for running a Cliff Kingsbury offense. But I just don't think you can take Kyler Murray and just put him in ahead of Josh Rosen after you took Josh Rosen with the number 10 overall pick last year and basically said you're the guy here in Arizona for the foreseeable future. If I'm Arizona, I go with Nick Bosa, defensive end, Ohio State. I think the Cardinals' biggest needs are not a quarterback. Rosen can become a fantastic, or at least respectable starter in this league. He has all the tools to do it. He just needs some protection. They need reinforcements on both sides of the line of scrimmage, offensive line and defensive line. But obviously the strength of this draft is on the defensive line or on defense. A lot of depth in this year's draft on the defensive line. And Joey Bosa is the best player in this draft class at any position, I believe. Maybe you can argue Keenan Williams is, but I think it's Nick Bosa. You put him opposite Chandler Jones, I think that would quickly give Arizona one of the best defensive end duos in the league. Can't think of too many better than that. That's what I would do. Moving on, San Francisco. It's interesting. If I were San Francisco, I'd take Keenan Williams. I think he's the second best, if not first best prospect in the draft. A dominant 3 technique pass rusher. He'd be a good fit to kind of reinforce what San Francisco has on that defense. He just doesn't have a lot of playing experience. Neither does Nick Bosa either in college. But if you watched any of Keenan Williams last year, you just saw it. He can take on double teams. He can get to the backfield, stuff the run. He can collapse the pocket, get to the quarterback. He's big. He's built like a tree trunk, but he moves like a defensive end. He's instinctive. He can knock down balls at the line of scrimmage. He's just dominant in every way you look at it. He's like a young version of Aaron Donald, and I know it's That's going a little far, but in college he was the Aaron Donald of college football. He can just dominate a game in every way, shape, or form you can think of. And I think if you're San Francisco at this number 2 spot, you're thinking best player available. That's not a quarterback because you don't need a quarterback. You need reinforcements on the defensive side of the football, and you can address some of your offensive problems in the later rounds. But since this draft is so deep, you got to go defense. And I believe Keenan Williams or Joey Bosa, one of the two is going to be there, and you got to take him. So I think 1 and 2 probably need to be Nick Bosa and Keenan Williams. Where Kyler goes if he doesn't go number 1, that's going to be a real question. I'm hearing the Giants at number 6. Really like Daniel Jones, the quarterback from Duke, and they're planning to take him at number 6 if he's available, but you never know with Dave Gettleman. I think we know Miami might be looking at a quarterback. Maybe Kyler would fall all the way to them. They get him. We know Washington is looking to trade into potentially the top 5. Maybe for a quarterback, maybe if they see Kyler, hasn't gone off the board 1, 2, or 3, maybe they trade up to 4 with Oakland. Work something out there and pick Kyler Murray. It's just there are not a lot of teams that are really looking for quarterbacks in this draft like there were last year. Last year was crazy. You had the Jets take Sam Darnold, Cleveland take Baker Mayfield, Baltimore take Lamar Jackson, Arizona take Josh Rosen. Last year was absolutely crazy. I think there are only 3 or 4 teams this year that are really looking for their franchise quarterback. The Washington Redskins, the Miami Dolphins, maybe the Denver Broncos, and the New York Giants. Those are the only teams I can think of as of now. Jacksonville got rid of Blake Bortles. They got Nick Foles in the fold now. Buffalo. Who's Buffalo have again? Oh, Josh Allen. Denver. They may need a quarterback, but they got Joe Flacco. I'm not sure if that's going to work out, but they got Joe Flacco. There are not a lot of teams that need a quarterback, a starter in this league. So a lot of those problems were addressed last season. So with that being said, we'll have to see what happens. Number 3, the Jets. I think if Bosa and Williams are off the board by then, or maybe one of the 2 falls to you if Kyler Murray gets picked, then you got to take one of the 2. But I think you take best player available again with the Jets. I think you go either Josh Allen or Rashawn Gary. Josh Allen, he's a young interior D-line. No, he's an outside linebacker. Sorry, I'm thinking of Keenan Williams. They need to add a pass rusher of Josh Allen's caliber. He provided a new and necessary dimension off the edge. He needs to improve as a run defender, but I think after a couple of years, he can become a franchise guy on that defense and a leader on that defense if they go with him. This draft is also really deep at the secondary position. You have Greedy Williams, maybe the best corner in this draft from LSU, prototypical size and speed. he'd effectively give the Lion or whoever drafts him. I have him going to the Lions at 8. Um, 2 number 1 receivers or 2 number 1 corners if he went to the Lions with Darius Slay and Greedy Williams. Prototypical size and speed, good ball skills, good instincts. He's a good one. You have the guy from Washington. What's his name? Byron Murphy, who I'm hoping the Steelers can get at 20 if they don't trade up for one of the 2 linebackers, Rashawn or Devin Bush or Devin White. You have Byron Murphy, who doesn't have a lot of experience, but he has fantastic ball skills. He's dependable in zone and off coverage on the outside, and he's a strong run defender, good tackler, good solid fundamental player. And then you have the guy from Georgia, DeAndre Baker, who's kind of fallen under the radar. He could also be, one of those guys who kind of falls a little bit, and some team could get a steal late in the draft. Also, with Baker, you probably saw him play at Georgia. Another forgotten guy, Montez Sweat, defensive in Mississippi State. He's projected to go in top 10. He's a rare prospect who has the tools to become, his ceiling is it's up there. He's going to need to expand his repertoire of pass rushing moves, but that comes with experience and just learning an NFL system. But the physical traits are all there. Anything you want with Montez Sweat, you're getting. And then you have the 2 really big linebackers in this draft. Devin White, linebacker LSU. There are a lot of teams that could use a dominant inside linebacker. Devin White's a ridiculous athlete, size and speed, sideline to sideline. But he's also the type of high character leader that's needed in some NFL locker rooms today. I heard him in an interview on a show today. He sounds very intelligent, super nice dude. Would work great in any NFL locker room. Great as a leader of a defense. I'm not sure he's not a better man off the field than he is player on the field, and that's great for any NFL team. And then the other guy is Devin Bush, linebacker, Michigan, who in this mock draft I have going to Pittsburgh, number 20. I would love that. Some guy to replace Ryan Shazier. We really didn't address that last season, which was pretty stupid on Pittsburgh's part. They need a playmaker in the middle of their defense, and Bush is perfect fit for Pittsburgh. He's instinctive, he's physical, he's fast. He would integrate seamlessly into a scheme that values defenders who understand the game. On a high level. Sorry, I lost what I was going to say there. I see my guy Emmy wants me to talk about teams that might trade up. I mentioned Washington earlier. I've been hearing they might trade up into the top 5 to get a quarterback, maybe the top 10. It just depends on how things play out within the first couple picks. If Kyler goes off the board at 1, I don't think that's who they're looking at. I think it's between I'm hearing Dwayne Haskins and I think it was Daniel Jones, but I think the Giants want Daniel Jones. So it's going to be a fight, for who gets which quarterback. I think they could trade up. they're definitely looking to trade up with for a quarterback. I think I've heard rumors New England might want to trade up into maybe the more of the middle first round, or maybe even trade down, get some more picks. But they don't need any more picks. They already have like 12 picks in this draft, which is insane. Like they need 12 draft picks after just winning another Super Bowl. Um, and for me, as a Steelers fan, I think we should trade up, get one of these two linebackers. It was really stupid last year when we didn't address the inside linebacker position um, in last season's draft. There were a lot of good linebackers then. There are two or three really elite linebackers now, and I think if you don't think that either guy, Devin Bush from Michigan or Devin White from LSU, either guy's fantastic. I don't care which one we get. But why not? Why not take a gamble? Use the extra picks you got in the trade for Marcus Gilbert or Antonio Brown, and give teams a couple picks and go get one of these dudes to fill the void of Ryan Shazier. Either guy would fit seamlessly into our defense because they're both instinctive, they're both physical, they're both fast. They're not on Ryan Shazier level fast, but they're fast sideline to sideline guys, and we need some of that. Vince Williams, he's good, but he's not your alpha of your defense. He's not going to be a 3-down guy who's going to be that alpha of your defense. He's not the Luke Kuechly. He's not the high-level inside linebacker leader of your quarterback of your defense per se. Dude, I like John Bostic, the guy we picked up from Indianapolis last offseason. He had his moments last year, but again, he's not a 3-down guy. He can be used in particular situations, third and short, run stopping situations where you need a tackle or a play, but we need a 3-down linebacker in the middle of our defense that's able to get sideline to sideline, make tackles, can cover tight ends, or even play in pass coverage in the secondary. If I'm Pittsburgh, why not? I mean, what do you have to lose, really? You're getting one of the two players if you trade up to the right spot, and they're two of the best players in this draft, without question. Other teams that could trade up or even trade down. I'm looking at the draft order right now. I don't really see anyone in particular that jumps off the page to me. Oh, I forgot. Seattle, they signed Russell Wilson to that big contract extension, but they also traded defensive end Frank Clark to the Kansas City Chiefs for Kansas City's first-round pick, number 29. I believe another pick in this draft. No, a second-round pick in next year's draft. Their first-round pick in this year's draft. And then what they're going to do is they're going to swap third-round picks. Yeah, that was a trade. I think it was a good trade for both sides. Obviously, Kansas City they needed to address that need after Dee Ford left in free agency. They lost a lot on this defense. They needed to address that. In Seattle, they got some more picks out of this, and they can address more of their needs with these extra picks in this draft. I'm just going off the top of my head now. So, I'm excited for this draft. First round is going to be very interesting. there's always that one team that one or two teams, one or two moves every single draft. And you're like, what the hell? Where did that come from? I was not expecting that. Either a team trades up to get some player, or they make a blockbuster trade, some type of deal. It always happens every single draft. You're like, what the hell? I was not expecting that to happen. So I'm looking forward to it. Should be interesting. Ton of great players. Just to name a few, recap: Nick Bosa, Josh Allen, Keenan Williams, Rashawn Gary, Jonah Williams, Dwayne Haskins, Kyler Murray, Jawan Taylor, Greedy Williams, Ed Oliver. Damn, we didn't even mention him. Drew Luck, Devin White, Christian Wilkins, all the defensive linemen from Clemson, Montez Sweat, a couple good offensive tackles in the draft, Cody Ford from Oklahoma, Andre Dillard from Washington State, Dexter Lawrence, Devin Bush, Josh Jacobs, the top running back prospect, DeAndre Baker, TJ Hawkinson, these two amazing tight ends from Iowa. Mac Wilson, another inside linebacker from Alabama. What do you know? Every year in the draft, there's an inside linebacker from Alabama. Noah Fant, the other tight end from Iowa. Brian Burns, Florida State. Marquise Brown, Oklahoma. N'Keal Harry, Arizona State. Ton of great players. You can't go wrong. There are enough players in this draft for every team to get who they want. Very deep on the defensive side of the ball. So we'll just have to see what happens. And I'm sure Amy and I will be back after the draft, and we'll talk about all the interesting picks that happen. We'll probably grade some of the teams on their draft performance, analyze the draft, and also start to analyze what's going on in the NBA playoffs, and what's happening as the second round starts on Saturday. We just found out that the Sixers-Raptors series will begin Saturday, and the Bucks-Celtics series will begin on Sunday. And obviously, we'll probably get more information tonight, assuming the Clippers beat the Warriors on when that Warriors-Rockets series will begin. And then also, obviously, we'll have to wait and see what happens with San Antonio, Denver, so we can see when that series against Portland will start. But it's going to be a great second round. This is what we've been waiting for in a second round. And to be honest with you, at the beginning of this, I talked about Damian Lillard and how great he's been. I think that, and I think a lot of people have said this, I think the winner of that OKC Portland series, and I kind of thought this in my head at the beginning of the playoffs, but didn't really, say it because I don't know. I didn't know what was going to happen. The winner of that series, now that it's Portland, I think they are going to go to the Western Conference Finals. They can beat San Antonio easily if San Antonio wins Game 6 and 7, and I think they can beat Denver. The way the backcourt's playing with Dame and CJ, they can definitely beat Jamal Murray, who's been inconsistent so far, and Gary Harris. Now, obviously, they're going to miss Nurkic against Jokic. Man, Jokic is a problem. But it's pretty amazing how Terry Stotts has gotten all the role players to step in to these roles and fill in nicely and produce. We're talking about Maurice Harkless. We're talking about Seth Curry. We're talking about um, Al-Farouq Aminu, Myers Leonard. You've got big minutes from all these guys who kind of stepped in and filled in. Enes Kanter was fantastic in place of Nurkic. So I think, there are no locker room problems. Dame and CJ have kept this team together. There's no real noise coming out of Portland. All the noise in that series was, from Westbrook and OKC and all the antics they were putting on after game 3, after they won, rocking the baby with Westbrook, all that stuff. That's done now. And I think after what happened in that series and what Damian Lillard's doing, look, there comes a point at some times with athletes where they just reach a point of athletic invincibility. They can't be stopped. We saw it in the 2006 finals, for example, with Dwayne Wade when he averaged 34 in that series against Dallas. We saw it when LeBron carried that Cavs team to the finals way back in like 2007. We saw it with Kemba Walker in college basketball in 2011, where he made that run, that incredible run through the Big East tournament and NCAA tournament to bring UConn that national championship. There just comes a point where players get into a zone and they can't be stopped for a certain point in time or a certain time period. And I think right now, the man of the hour, the man of the minute, the man of the week, the man of the month, the man of this year's playoffs, it's Damian Lillard. And he's getting all the attention. I mean, they're not even talking about what CJ McCollum has been doing in the playoffs. I don't have the exact numbers with me, but he's been fantastic also. So they continue to play like that, and the role players continue to fill in. I think it's Portland's season. They're not going to beat the Rockets or the Warriors, but I think they can get to the Western Conference Finals, and it's a legacy year, like Emmy said, for Damian Lillard, and that was a legacy game. Before I go off there, I'll just, in case you weren't listening at the beginning, I'll just reaffirm what I said at the beginning of the podcast. Damian Lillard. Actually, I'll start with Westbrook. Westbrook in this series, 22.8 points per game, 36% from the field, 32% from three-point land, minus 43 plus minus. I repeat, minus 43 plus minus. Damian Lillard in the series, 33 points per game, including 50 points last night on 10 made threes, 5 of them from 30 feet and beyond. 46% from the field, 48% from three-point percentage on the series, and a plus minus of plus 55. Minus 43, plus 55. You do the math. I believe that's a difference of 98. So, just saying, Damian Lillard absolutely obliterated Westbrook. And then Westbrook in playoff elimination games, in games in which the Thunder have been eliminated the last 7 seasons in the playoffs where they've been eliminated. Westbrook's numbers in those games, the past 7 seasons, 11 of 28, 4 of 20, 8 of 23, 7 of 21, 15 of 34, 18 of 43, and last night, 11 of 31. That's all that needs to be said, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Michael Wing. This is the Raw Prospect Podcast. And I'm sure Amy and I will be back early next week with the podcast to talk about the draft. I'm going to be busy this week. I'm going to be out of town, but that's a whole nother story. We'll be back to talk about the draft. Um, we'll get his take on all these NBA playoff storylines. And we'll probably talk a little golf because the PGA Championship's coming up sooner than you know it. So we'll see you then. With that being said, I'm Michael Ween. Um, this was a good one. I like it because it was short. 50 minutes is way below our normal average, about 30 minutes below our normal average. But that's episode 25. Hope you enjoy the draft. Hope you enjoy the second round of the playoffs. Peace.